What unfolded yesterday was not a protest. It was terrorism disguised as dissent.
What do you see when you watch thousands of young Kenyans flood the streets, chanting for justice, waving placards demanding dignity? For many, the answer is clear. A generation fed up with broken promises, runaway corruption, and a leadership deaf to their cries.
Are you sure your iPad?
But through the lens of the State House, those same youths look very different, more like criminals.
What happened was not spontaneous. It was not random. It was deliberate. It was coordinated. It was funded. And it was premeditated and politically instigated.
On June 25th, as tens of thousands took to the streets across the country to protest police brutality, corruption, and poor governance, the government's reaction was not one of introspection or empathy. It was suspicion and aggression.
What was billed as a peaceful protest was in truth a calculated disguise, a coordinated descent into chaos marked as civic expression.
Barely a day after the protests, which left at least 11 civilians dead and over 400 injured, many by police bullets, Interior CS Murkomen finally broke the government's silence.
As the Cabinet Secretary responsible for your security, I address the nation today with heavy heart. Let me right from the outset express my deepest sympathy to every Kenyan who endured suffering during yesterday's protest. To the families of those who suffered harm, both members of public and security personnel who bore the brunt of violence, and those whose livelihoods were shattered, your needless pain is our collective sorrow.
But his statement didn't acknowledge the grief swelling across the nation. It didn't mourn the dead. It didn't even admit fault. Instead, Murkomen painted the protest as a coup attempt.
Police officers foiled a coup, and they deserve our defense. They don't carry guns as toys. You know, terrorists, how they operate is that they instill fear. And these are political terrorists. They would like to instill fear on members of parliament who don't support their political ideology so that they can get a safe passage. The DCI does not investigate politics. He will only deal with the criminals. And those criminals will be caught. They invaded a police station, the shops, they provided financial support to chaos. Criminals paid them, ferried them. The matatus that were used to ferry them, some of the vehicles that were operating pretending to be ambulances, but they were ferrying goons.
The protests marking the one-year anniversary of the violent 2024 anti-tax demonstrations that claimed over 60 lives turned tragic once again. At least 11 civilians were killed, over 400 injured, many bearing the scars of rubber bullets, tear gas canisters, and in some cases, live ammunition, according to rights groups and medics. Nairobi's central business district became a battleground, with police deploying tear gas and water cannons to disperse crowds. While protesters lit bonfires and barricaded roads in a show of resistance, the Kenyan Human Rights reported that at least 5 of the deaths involved gunshot wounds, with forensic evidence suggesting police firearms were used. Additionally, dozens of protesters remain missing, raising fears of abductions, a tactic previously documented during the 2024 protests where activists and social media influencers critical of the government were targeted.
When you threaten a police officer, you want to kill them. When you target an armory in a police station, when you steal guns, when you ban guns, when you ban a police station, you want us to celebrate you and bring you a birthday cake.
The government's stance, as articulated by Murkomen, frames protests as a security threat rather than a legitimate grievance.
The mobilized protesters, especially along Kiambu and Thika Road, were chanting it's time to take out power and occupy State House. The massive looting had a clear motive to cause fear and target properties of politicians and civilians allied to government and innocent civilians who were just going about their business. The orchestrators of the violence went back to the safety of their homes. Some did not even reach town. They were just in their homes in the leafy suburbs of Nairobi and watched the goons and criminals terrorize innocent civilians.
During last year's protests, President Ruto repeatedly accused demonstrators of being hired goons or foreign-funded agents. The police leadership, meanwhile, has defended its actions. Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja stated on June 25, 2025, that officers acted within the law to protect public property despite evidence of disappropriate force.
I want to say that we appreciate our brave police officers who did a sterling job yesterday by ensuring our country remained secure despite the many challenges that were there. I also want to wish them a quick recovery. There are over 300 police officers who are also injured, who got injuries yesterday, life-threatening injuries. I want to wish them well, and also state very, very clearly that we stand with them, we support them, and we appreciate the work that the men and women in uniform do.
It is now clear that there was no protest, it was chaos, anarchy. Parliament was being targeted and State House was being targeted. Those who planned this chaos had a very premeditated plan. They shared that plan, including online, and the plan was to take the symbols of authority and democracy, our symbols of democracy in the Republic, which is Parliament and State House, to make sure that they show that they have achieved some sort of a regime change. So this is nothing to do with protests. This is nothing to do with freedom of expression. It was an unconstitutional attempt to change the regime of this republic. And this is therefore, yesterday what the police did to foil was they were able to foil an attempted coup. Our security agencies exercised remarkable restraint amid extreme provocation. I want to say this to the brave officers injured while protecting Kenyans' property, key installations, including Parliament, Judiciary, and State House, against rioters and no doubt hired thugs. We feel your pain and sacrifice that embody the truest expression of patriotism. It is now urgent for us as a nation. I just wanted to say before I read my last paragraph that I know that no church member, and I repeat, there will be no bishop, neither Catholic nor Anglican or any other church leader who will come public to defend the police. I know that for sure. Nobody will speak about how the police were attacked, injured, and suffered immense pain as a result of the various. Nobody will do so. I also know that no diplomat will come to public to defend our police because it is not in their interest for Kenya to be a safe nation and to be a prospering country with full democracy. All those people would prefer anarchy, chaos, at the expense of peace. And since there is no one who is going to defend our police officers, I want to speak authoritatively here. I thank you, our police officer, for a job well done against the extreme provocation. And some police stations were attacked by thugs. And their mission was just to get the guns and police uniform. And I can see some of these boys on TikTok. They are wearing police uniform. calling themselves sergeants, and that they have taken over power.